What's going on? Brandon Epstein here, and I imagine you just watched a Joe Rogan episode and you're trying to find out more about who is this guy. And I wanted to make this video because there's a lot of gems I did not get to share in the Rogan episode that I want to give to you right now. So you really get an idea of my framework, how you can use it and transform your own life. So first of all, I didn't really get to go into the arc of my hero's journey. So let me talk to you about how I even got here into a place where I'm working with professional athletes, I'm working with executives, high-level business leaders, and helping them perform their best, achieve peak performance. So, like I said in the show, when I was 18 years old, I was playing college football. I was just trying to get on the field, and that just led to me stumbling into a supplement shop, meeting a guy who introduced me to this whole world of human performance and started teaching me about the energy system in the body, educating me on how we could use chakras, meridians, and all these different modalities like hypnosis, NLP, different forms of meditation. How do we shift our brainwave states to get in a more peak state for optimal performance? All kinds of cool stuff. And so when I learned this stuff, I went on the field, I executed, it worked for me. I started sharing it with my teammates, and then I created a self-designed major called the mental aspect of human performance, where I could start to dig deeper. Now, I was given the opportunity to receive a grant while I was in school to do research on this stuff. And the grant helped me do a study that showed how these same meditation techniques that I teach to this day can help improve strength performance, specifically in bench press, and also decrease anxiety. But by the time I got done with college, I realized that all the juicy stuff that I was learning was not coming from my classes. It was coming from outside the realm of traditional education. And so from there, I decided just to go right into entrepreneurship. I continued to find masters to help me study and learn new skills and improve my skills and work with clients, but I needed to make a living. So I started a meditation app company. And so the first couple of years out of college, I worked in this app company and I used it as a training ground for anyone who wanted to come and work with me but didn't have physical proximity. And so I made meditation apps to help people with sleep, with anxiety, with getting better at their sport, you name it. I had a lot of apps that helped with a full spectrum of different aspects of human performance. So the thing about entrepreneurship, as many of you know if you tried to be an entrepreneur, is that you usually don't have success in your first business. And my story is no different than that. And so that business ended up failing. And the main reason it ended up failing is because I'm really gifted in coaching and using these techniques with my clients, but I'm not the best practitioner when it comes to working with software developers and SEO optimization, all things it requires to build a company like that. And what I talk about a lot with my clients is finding your zone of genius. So your ability to find the thing that you're the best at and really zoning in there. And so I was okay at some of this business stuff, and I built the app company, I was making some money, but ultimately I burned out because it wasn't my zone of genius, and I did not want to dedicate myself to working with software developers and working behind the scenes of the technology. It just wasn't my passion, and it was really just me trying to make everything work at this time. So, long story long, I allowed my business partner at the time, who taught me about the app business, to buy the company from me, and I moved down to Medellin, Colombia, to hit the reset button of my life. Now, there's a lot of things that happened that you can read about in the book that led to me getting to a point where I had to move to South America. The book will go into more detail on that, but once I got there, I started trying to find a way just to work with clients again, getting back to what I loved. And while I was there, I reconnected with a good friend of mine who I had made friends with earlier on before I moved down to South America, and we had this passion for helping people. He loved the fitness side of things, so jump rope exercise, so picking up a jump rope, doing a workout for 30 minutes, and then I love the aspect of mind-body performance. So I would end some of these workouts we would do with meditation, yoga, something just to get your mind right for the day. And so we launched a YouTube channel, and funny enough, like this thing really took off. You can still find it to this day. I'm no longer part of the channel, but he's still running with it and doing an awesome job. And the channel has over 1 million subscribers. There's over 120, 130 million views on the channel. And really, what we ended up doing was pivoting that brand solely to jump rope fitness, because ultimately, people weren't really catching on to my mind-body stuff, so I kind of, again, take my main passion, put it on the back burner while still working with clients on the side while I built this business to actually create a sustainable income for myself so I could approach this type of one-on-one client work from a place of peace and tranquility and not like, hey, shit, I need this next client or I'm not gonna be able to pay my rent, right? And so we built this for years, ultimately allowed him to buy out my equity so he could run with it because this was his main passion. And I came back to my client work. And so all along there, I was learning different modalities, like I said in the show, hypnotherapy, hypnosis, NLP, timeline therapy, learning to work with energy. But most of all, just learning how this stuff works in real life. Like I learned to apply this stuff to my own business. The business had success. We were able to build the business into a 7-figure business. And I learned how I could actually help other high-level business leaders by actually growing a business myself that has some success. And so when I got to my late 20s, I was ready just to come back to the client work once again. And once I made that decision, ultimately, I let him buy me out from the company. And I went full-time here working with clients and anyone who really wanted to achieve peak performance, anyone who was asking themselves the question of what is my unique genius and how can I bring this into the world? And ultimately that led to me working with all types of people. I work with guys from Major League Baseball, the NFL, UFC, executives, business owners, people who have a considerable amount of success already, but they're looking to push it to the next level, or maybe they have run into this invisible ceiling that a lot of us come up against where it's like, all right, I have some success, but something is making me self-sabotage now. And I know there's something more, this deeper desire to maybe be more purposeful in their work, or just to find out how do I break through this invisible ceiling to get to the next level. And so that's what I've been doing now. And so that's a little bit about my arc and the hero's journey to how I got to this place where I just appeared on Joe Rogan. Now, something I want to share with you that I didn't get to talk about on the show as deeply as I wanted to, and I am so grateful for the opportunity to be on the show. It's just that where the conversation went, I didn't get to really dive into the nuts and bolts of how my process works. And so what I am at my core is I'm a subconscious engineer. I'm looking for the pieces of code that hold you back so we can take those, remove them, and replace them with code that's going to work for you instead of against you. Now, the misconception is that this is brain work, that's mental work. There's really just not a better word for the work that we do other than mental performance. But ultimately, it's body work. It's very somatic because whenever I'm working with my client, I'm trying to uncover what a broken piece of code is for them. We're not thinking about it. There's no thought because this stuff isn't rational. It's all deeply embedded. It all is this emotional scar tissue that's been built up through our life and now lives beneath the conscious surface. So we have to get out of our conscious, wakeful, rational mind. We have to drop into this deeper state of feeling. Now, in the feeling, all you have to do is follow the thread of emotion. If you feel anxiety in your body, you have to explore that. And then you start to ask yourself, okay, I'm feeling anxious as I think about taking this next step in my career or something that I want more of. It could be in any aspect of your life. It could be career, relationship, physical health, your mental health, anything. If you're feeling inner resistance, the only way to break through that is by going into the emotion and ask yourself, what am I believing to be true that would make me feel this way? So why do we ask that question? Well, our beliefs are how we create our reality. Literally, they are the filtration system for our world. Because when we believe something to be true, we're going to remove all the information out of our conscious mind that would interfere with it not being true, if that makes sense. So essentially, we're filtering out all the infinite amount of information that comes in through our sight, our hearing, our smell, our taste, our touch, and we're only gathering in and bringing into the conscious mind the things that align with what we believe to be true. So if subconsciously we believe we are not worthy, we will find a way to consciously end up sabotaging our success. And it's something that is not rational. It's not something that if someone gave you the option that you would choose to do. These are all things that live beneath the conscious surface. They're found in the emotion. And so if you constantly find yourself in a state of doubt or worry or lower confidence or whatever it might be, you know that there's a broken piece of code there. And so how do we get it up into the conscious awareness? Well, we start with awareness. Now, this isn't fun. But what we have to do is actually sit into the feelings of what does it feel like to be me right now? Because that's a foundation for your awareness. When you ask this question, you get to actually connect and create the mind-body connection that allows you to go deeper. And once you can start to feel that, it's a muscle that you're building. Because a lot of people just disassociate from their feeling body because they just don't want to go there. Right? They just stay in their thinking mind and try to solve everything here. But the problem with that is that you get stuck in the same cycles. You have the same thoughts. Most of us have 95% of the same thoughts every day. It's because we're running the same subconscious code. So the only way to change that is to go down and in through the emotion to start to uncover, how am I creating my reality right now? And what is the emotion that's creating this blockage that doesn't allow me to create something new? And so in any given moment, you have to dig into the feeling, feel into it, and then you can start to take the next step, which is, what kind of focus is coming from this feeling? Or how am I creating this feeling through my focus? Because what you focus on is what you're gonna get. And some of the things I'm gonna share are gonna sound almost too obvious, but the most important universal truths are, when you focus on what you want, you're gonna get more of what you want. When you focus on what you don't want, you're gonna get more of what you don't want. And I'm sure you've been in these positive cycles that spiral you upwards into more success, more happiness, more fulfillment. You also have these downward spirals that put you down into lower confidence, apathy, guilt, shame, anger, anxiety. And so really that process of digging into your focus and seeing how it leads to your feelings is letting you peel back the first layer of the veil to see, how am I making myself feel good or bad in any given moment? By doing that, you can start to build the muscle of focus. Now, as you go further down this path, you're gonna start to go deeper. You're gonna say, okay, I see the patterns and they're starting to come up into my rational conscious mind. I can see how I'm focusing in a way that's making me feel bad. The step after that is going down and asking yourself, okay, what do I actually desire? Not what do I think that I want, not what was I programmed to chase after, but rather, what does my heart desire? Okay, my heart desires more peace, more happiness, more variety, whatever that is. From the feeling of what your heart desires, you have to ask yourself, what activities, what things make me feel this way? What makes me feel more purposeful? Then you start to design a life where you're going after outcomes you're trying to create in your life that align with those feelings. So you're reverse engineering the feeling through the things that you're taking action towards. Now, this is where the beliefs come in, right? Because if your beliefs don't align with the outcome you want, you're gonna end up sabotaging yourself, or there's gonna be opportunities right in front of your face and you're not gonna be able to grab them because your beliefs are deleting, distorting, or generalizing the information to fit the old identity. And that's what this code does. It creates an identity you're living in every day. And so if we want to shift into identity, the old one has to die off so it can be rebirthed to what is truly you, the inspired version of yourself that feels pulled towards life every day and doesn't feel like they have to push themselves and use just pure willpower to get through the day to achieve the things that you want. And so once we get that vision clear, we can go in and do this auditing process of what are the activities I feel resistance against? Why aren't I able to be consistent with this habit? Going through this process of moving through those beliefs and transmuting them, which is essentially feeling them, accepting them, releasing them, choosing a new one that's the opposite, is going to put you in a state where you feel pulled towards the actions. The habits are going to get to your outcomes. And so those actions should only come from a place of inspiration. You don't want to force yourself into action. Instead, you want to clear all the resistance out, so now you just feel like, I'm inspired to go do this thing. Whether it's an exercise habit or something in your career or something in a relationship, you want to feel inspired to chase that from your heart. So once you feel that inspiration, your vision is clear, you can start to choose all the actions and you can systemize it into your life. You can look at your calendar and say, I'm going to do this on these days. You can use whatever software you want to start to schedule the to-do list tasks and make sure that you're stacking those bricks. They'll ultimately lead to your success. Now, as you continue to move towards greater and greater levels of fulfillment and success, you can expect that invisible ceiling, or also called like the governor, like on a car, it won't let you go any faster. The engine might blow out if you try to keep pushing it, is going to come up. And so that's the work. That's the deeper spiritual work. And I didn't really talk about this in the podcast, but I have a really deep belief and relationship with God. And so my belief is that God's putting this inspiration into your heart to chase what you want. And so when the resistance come up, this is the spiritual work that you need to do to move through that resistance. That's it. It's this spiritual, energetic work that you're going to do in your heart to move through the resistance to continue to flow towards your dreams. And as you continue to rise up into experiencing more and more higher states of frequency, which is just positive emotion, you are going to start to be inspired to do and chase different things. So don't get fixed into a certain identity or a certain vision. It's going to evolve, it's going to change, just like you're evolving and changing over time. So that is a process. Now, if you want to get deep into my story, which has a lot of awesome just hero's journey arc, you can check it out in my book, The Success Code. I think I talked about on the podcast. It's available on Amazon. Joe was nice enough to shout it out as well. I rebranded the book to The Success Code recently. I haven't rebranded the audiobook. So if you want the audiobook, it's called Program to Fail. You can check it out. I'll link it below. And if you're someone who's just inspired by the show and you're like, you know what, I want to experience the magic. I want to work with you one-to-one, Brandon. Well, I'm going to put a coaching application below here. I have opportunities to work with me one-to-one. Also, we have group stuff, and I also lead retreats. So there's a lot of ways for us to work together one-to-one. Just apply and we can have a conversation about it. So thank you for watching the Joe Rogan Experience. If you haven't seen the episode, definitely go check it out now. And I look forward for us growing our relationship together. And yeah, appreciate you for checking me out.